Okay, this is my fifth attempt at going through and doing tonight's class. Um, I looked at the recording that I created while we were in class tonight, and it was broken very badly. So I went through and tried Screencastify. Forgot I can only do 5 minutes on Screencastify, and I ran out of time. So now I'm going to go through and use Screencast-O-Matic, another one of the apps that we talked about in class. So last week, interactive online lesson and online assessment. We looked at creating formative and summative assessments. Formative is what we did with Kahoot Academy and Blooket, and Kahoot also. And then we looked at online assessment, creating one with GoFormative or with Google Forms. Educational apps, we'll go through and look at concept mapping. That leads into one of your projects tonight because you'll do a concept mapping assignment. And then we'll go through and create a lesson plan for one of our final projects. For last week, if you're going through and keeping track for your live text, the Internet Online Assessment and your online assessment tools, both of those meet standards 2 and 3. And then we will not be meeting next week. If you need to meet, let me know by Sunday night. That way I can rush home from school on Monday and get home in time to go through and be on for 5:30. But if I don't hear from anybody, I'm not planning on meeting. Typically, we don't meet during finals week. You just need to make sure that you have your live text finished by 5 o'clock on Wednesday, April 27th. If you turn in live text by this Friday at 5 o'clock, then I can go through and give you some feedback on it if needed. If you turn it in after 5 o'clock on Friday, then I just grade it the way as it is because there's not enough time to go back and forth on that. Do not turn in live text after 5 o'clock on Wednesday, April 27th. That's the deadline for those. Then I need to go through and look at those and get those put in for grades. But since we're not meeting next Monday, I need to go through and tell you what standards our projects meet this week. For concept mapping, it meets standards 1, 2, and 3. Blend space meets standards 2, 3, and 5. I know standard 5 is one of the ones that people are having trouble finding projects to meet. I think there are 5 different projects that meet standard 5. 3 off the top of my head that I can remember are WebQuest, your journal entries, and then blend space. So there's 3 projects for standard 5 if you're struggling to find one. And now we're going to go through and look at MindMeister and Inspiration Kidspiration. MindMeister has a free demo. It's an online concept mapping that you can go through and use it. It was designed for business projects. However, you could go through and use this in your classroom. They've kind of gotten more of an educational feel from what they changed. That screenshot there was just taken Saturday. It's a little bit different than what they used to have. But like I said, it's possible to go through and use that in education if you needed to. But if you want to use it much, you're probably going to have to go through and purchase a subscription for it. Kidspiration Inspiration. Typically, it has an iPad app that's available for it. So it is pretty much iOS based. There's Inspiration, which is for grades K through 5, and then Inspiration, which is grades 4 and up. And the difference between the two of those, besides the grade levels, are Kidspiration is image-based. So typically, kindergarten, first or second grade, a lot of times they don't have the vocabulary or the word skills yet to go through and do their mapping, but they can actually go through and use the images that are in there to go through and do their mapping. If you're not sure what I'm talking about with a mapping, if you look down there at that screenshot, it kind of has an idea there. That green circle in the center, I know it's in the background, but that green circle is the topic, and then it has different topics coming off of that. I believe there's 4 coming off, maybe 3 coming off of that one. And then it has subtopics and then different ideas within there. If you think about it, this is just allowing the students to go through and do basically a graphic organizer for a project, getting their ideas down. It could be also going through and getting their graphic organizer for an essay that they're writing and those types of things. But there are free trial versions of Kidspiration and Inspiration, but it is a paid app. You'd have to go through and use a subscription or get a subscription if you wanted to go through and use a lot of it. And then this week in your forum entry in Google Classroom is talking about Curriki. Creaky changed about a year and a half ago. It used to be a website that you could go through and get a lot of lesson plans that somebody else has made and posted those on there. Think about it like a social networking type of thing. It's kind of like Pinterest and some of those other ones that we looked at. You could go through and post lesson plans on there. Other people could go through and access them and use them if they wanted to. There was actually a rating system that they set up. But about a year and a half ago, they did away with that. And now Curriki goes through and gives you a way of looking at tools that might show up on the state testing. Right now we're in the middle of doing air tests. And some of the things I'm seeing on those air tests are drag and drop types of things where the students can need to go through and put things in an order, or they need to go through and match things up by clicking on something and dragging and dropping it someplace else. These are things that our students don't have access to if we're using paper and pencil all the time. So you need to have those students exposed to all the different types of question types that are going to be on those assessments. So what I'm having you do is look at Curriki. When you go through and access the website, it says in the directions, make sure you scroll down because it's not a long website, but at the bottom of the page is where all these tools show up that you can go through and show your students and have them get practice with them so that they understand what they are. And the Curriki has a whole long list of tools that are there. So you may want to go through and take a look at that. It's kind of helpful for, like I said, practicing for the state assessments. And the project work for this week. You're going to create an online mind map. Basically, you're going to have a choice to use one of the types of resources that I have listed in the rubric. And basically what you're going to do is create a topic. Then you're going to have 4 main areas coming off that with 3 subtopics on each. And I'm going to go through and show you one of them that's fairly easy to go through and do with that. This is the rubric, just going through and talking about that. I'm going to show you MindMeister. It allows you to create 3 maps for free. And it also, when you're sharing it, make sure you change it to public on the web. And I'll go through and show you how to do that. If you don't change it to public on the web, I can't view it. If you know anything about bubble.us, you can go through and use that. Poplet, if you want to go through, that's an iPad app. If you know anything about it, you can use it. If you want to use MindMeister, you can. You can only create 3 mind maps for free. And then SpiderScribe is another. You can create unlimited maps or 3 private maps. I've had someone use that before, but I don't think it's very user-friendly like MindMeister is, and that type of thing. And then your rubric down here, basically create it, post it, and that's it. You just get your points for it. So what does MindMeister look like? MindMeister looks like this. Okay, I've already gone through and logged in, but when you go through and you log into it, it just allows you to create an account with your Google sign-in, so it's real easy to go through and do that. You're going to click on Create up here in the top. It's going to ask you what kind you want to go through and create. I like the blank mind map that's here. When you put your cursor over it, you just click Create, and it comes up. I don't want to upgrade, so I'm going to turn that off. Oh, I've got 3 in there already, so I need to go back to mine and delete one of them out. I forgot about it. And it's not letting me. Oh, there it is. X out of it. There we go. Now let's delete this one out. This is what you do when you're over the amount of allotted ones. So if you create too many, you can go through and delete them out and then add some more. So if I click on Create, now I click on Create, now I click on Create again, and it comes up. And you can see right here in the center is where you go through and you put your main idea. What I did in class tonight was go through and do world history. I don't know a lot about world history, but I'm going to go through and do that part of it. And if I click on the arrow, I can go through and create text in there. I can go through and it'll allow you to put like a comment with it. You can go through and put a link in here. You can go through and put an image or video, different types of things like that with it. But if I click on it, then I can come up here to my topic. And if I click on that 4 times, I will get 4 topics. So now I can move those around so that they're not on top of each other. And there's my topics. So if you wanted to create one of these from class, it says in the rubric you can create an idea from class. If you talk about Google Drive, then you can go through and find 4 different things. We've used a lot of things with Google Drive. You can connect 4 topics off of that. On my main topics, then I can go through and put subtopics on them. So then I can go through and put one over here, and I go through and put another subtopic on. And I can put another, we need 3 subtopics, so I put another one on there. Again, I can go through and drag those around, put them wherever I want to. I actually created an extra one. Delete that off. And I can go through and put those wherever I want to. That created a topic. That's not where that's supposed to go. So I can drag it back up here. You can see how you can go through and create different types of things with it. You just double click on this and it allows you to go through and change the text that's in there. And if I wanted to create a note or put some image with it and that type of thing, I can go through and do that. But if I was doing world history, I could do World War I, World War II. I could go through and do Vietnam, the Korean conflict. You know, those are just, maybe that's what I think of as world history. I can go through and create however I want it to with it. But once you get this all finished up, and you can go through and there's different ways you can color it, change your text. You can change the background, do all kinds of things with it. When I'm finished with it though, I'm going to click on Share. And this is the spot over here where right now it says it's private, only I can access it. I click on Change, then I can go through and either put it public on the web or anybody with the link can view. At least do anybody with a link can view, because what you'll do is then click on that, click Save, and now I can just click this link and anyone who has the link can go through and view it. So I just click on that link, save it, and then I can post it onto my website. So that's a fairly simple assignment to do for this week. And then the last one is a blend space. This one's kind of going through and tying hopefully everything that we've done in class together. And the rubric on this just says you're going to create a blend space, which is basically an online lesson plan. It allows you to get some links put in there and different types of digital types of things. But in yours, I'm going to show you what tiles look like in a second. You're going to need to have a tile with the lesson title and grade level, another tile for the standards of the lesson, another tile for objectives or I can statements. Objectives, the student will be able to do XYZ with a certain amount of accuracy. That's an objective. Or an I can statement takes a standard and says I can and creates the standard in a student language friendly type of way. So take your standard and just say I can and say what the student will be able to do with that standard. You can put them in either format that you want to, either objectives or I can statements. But that would be a third tile that you need. Fourth tile would be vocabulary, either vocabulary that they need for this, so in other words, things you need to review to make sure they understand for the lesson, or vocabulary that's going to be covered in the lesson, or it could be both. Some that needs to be covered and then some that are going to be new ones that you're going to go over. So that's a fourth tile. A fifth tile, or at least fifth, or could be more than this, you need some type of instructional activity. How are you going to go through and introduce this topic to the students? Another tile would be practice activities. So how are they going to go through and practice what you've just gone through and taught them? And then an assessment tile. How are you going to go through and assess their ability with that? With these last three ones, you can have more than one tile for each one of these. Kind of suggest you do, because sometimes things don't work right when you're doing the instructional activity or the practice activity, and you may need more than one activity or that type of thing in there. So you can have more than one tile for each one of those. But think of those three as I do, we do, you do. I do. The instructional activities, I'm going through and I'm showing you how to go through and do something. I'm introducing it to you. We do is I'm going to go through and we're going to practice this together. And then you do is an assessment type of activity. Now I want you to show me that you know it. So down below here, whoops, you don't get a choice on this one. We're going to all go through and use blend space. There's a blend space video in here, a blend space tutorial, and a blend space another video that you can go through and use on that. And then you can go through and look down through the rubric to see where you get your points. But this is a bigger project and it's worth 20 points. So blend space, this is what it looks like. And up here at the top, you can actually create this like you would a Google Classroom. I don't do those types of things with it. I just go through and create a lesson with it, and then I can connect it with Google Classroom later. So I click on New Lesson, and then there are these are the tiles that I was talking about. So you would have one tile right here for your lesson title and the grade level. To do that, you'd click on Add Text. Then I can go through and type in different types of things. Like I'm going to do oceans because that's the example that they have in here. And this is going to be a 5th grade lesson. Now, I don't like that because it's really small. So I can go up here and I can go through and change my text. I can even go through and change the color of my text and make it a different color. Make it like that. I can go through and make things bold. I can make them italicized. I can underline.